research philosophy and gap. So we are going to have an idea about a research gap. I'm just taking this, pulling it down for the time being. Let it be here. So this portion, I have touched it today, this portion, and I'm going to touch this portion now. All right. When you connect these two together today, I'm sure about it, you will be on the track of research. You'll be on the track of research. So let's have an idea about this one. Okay. So when you look at a research, it's a lonely one. It's not like an MBA class or a PhD class, and likewise, everybody gets a different topic. Somebody from marketing, somebody from HR, somebody from supply chain management, somebody from IT, somebody from finance. A different under the finance, different topics, under the HR, different topics, under the marketing, different topics. Every student has to go a lonely journey in research. Don't expect that you may get a lot of students around you to support you, because it's your idea and you convinced and you are exactly operating it with the support of methodologies and methods and the designs and tools. And likewise, always remember, a researcher's journey is a lonely journey, a lonely journey. And if you don't like the lonely journey, don't get into research. It's not suitable to you. And sometimes, some point of time, initially, it will be a difficult task for any research scholar, because you need your own time, because this time is the creative time, imagination, and without any kind of distractions. So circle of life can distract you. So you need to have a lonely life to penetrate into absolute research. Or else can go with family, no problem, but you need to find out absolute time for your research. That particular time, nobody should be involved in it. All right. So your reliable friend should be the literature. Only reliable friend. Why? This reliable literature consists of best of articles. These best of articles are coming from best of journals. I may suggest all the students and faculty members sitting over here to move with journals, in comparison with textbooks. Textbooks with which you will be getting models, some sort of models, and likewise you'll be getting. But models are not sufficient for you to move the research. You need empirical observations, empirical understanding, empirical findings. Your reliable friend should be the literature. So best of journals, the best of best journals you should start searching on. It can be in Q1 level, Scopus Q1 level, Scopus Q2 level, Scopus Q3 level, like best of the journals you need to access. If you go through Google, Google is not what you would say, it is a kind of search engine. It is not a database. It's a search engine. Take an example. Today you are getting an article. Today you are getting an article connected with organizational commitment. After 2 months, that article may not be existing over there. The person might have taken out. So it's only a search engine, Google. So don't depend on Google a lot. Instead of that, you need to depend on database. For that, Bahrain Polytechnic University should have at least 2 databases. One is Scopus, another is WOS. If 2 databases you can purchase, if Bahrain Polytechnic University can get into the library, I'm sure about it, the research scholars can get access to it. Got it. It's a very important management decision should make. I may recommend Felipe to do that. If that is already available, I'm so happy. All right. So your reliable friend should be literature. Only literature, reading literature, you can get your idea or the belief converted into the truth. So how to arrive at a research frame? Research frame is coming after research gap. You look at it, research gap. This research gap is exactly leading to research frame. So how you will get a research gap? You got a problem or an idea to be researched. So it can be a reality. It is coming from theories. It is coming from interviews you are making. It is coming from the field reports you are reading. It is from the observations you are making. It is coming from the literature. It is coming from the literature. It is all these, when you connect with observations, literature, field reports, interviews, theories, all these things exactly connected with the problem. When you do that reading, complete reading, you will identify the reality and you will identify the knowledge gap. So how to arrive at it? You cannot see, I got an idea. This you can tell, but before you tell it to me, sir, I got an idea to do the research. I'll be asking you, how did you get it? Show me the literature. Show me the interview reports. Show me how did you identify the realities and how that turned to be as a problem. And where is the gap? Which knowledge gap you are trying to fill it up? You are exactly negotiating with the jury. You are negotiating with the jury. I want to do this research. My question is, what knowledge gap you are going to fill up? All knowledge gap existing in the world is or are filled up by the past research scholars. So what knowledge gap you are going to fill it to me? That's exactly my question to you. I don't care what topic you are going to bring it to me. But before you talk to me, you need to identify one. I will be asking all these questions. All right, so that is leading to the research gap. Research gaps should connect with the concepts you are studying. IV concepts or DV concepts in the case of quantitative research. These independent variables, the causes. What is research gap telling? Relationship between the causes and the effect. Causes are coming, these independent variables are called as the causes connected with the problem. But dependent variable is connected with the effects. So what a research gap, when you try to do the research, what knowledge gap you are trying to fill up, there is no understanding about the relationship between the concepts and the effects, or independent variable and dependent variable. So that is the gap you are telling. This gap is not filled in the Manama region. This gap is not filled up in the Bahrain Polytechnic. How the Applied Science University is working, how the UOB is working, and what kind of research system existing over there, what kind of academic system existing over there, what kind of thing in applied sciences. We don't have a knowledge. And once you get the knowledge, only you can make a comparative analysis with your institution. So which are the causes I need to study? So I did a lot of research initially. Literature review. Once you complete the literature review, you got many concepts UOB is doing, or Applied Science Research is, or Gulf University is doing, or Open University is doing. Different types of universities available nearby to Manama region, how they are exactly propounding the research ecosystem you are studying. Then now question is a comparison. There is a knowledge gap. In Bahrain Polytechnic University, what ways with which the ecosystem activities are happening, there is no research have been conducted. If I do this research, I'm sure about it, this will be going to this kind of understanding, and I can pass it to the CEOs of the organization or the vice chancellor of this university or director of this university. I can pass it so that they can take a better decision on it. Got it? You are not doing for yourself, you are doing for others. Got it? So that exactly leading to, so connection between the IV concept and the DV concept is called as a research frame. Means that the concept IV connected to concept DV. So these are the subconcept, these are the subconcept. So you need to identify concept and the subconcept. You have to identify here also the concept, and so this is called, the way Noof is telling, ideation. I have an idea. How you got the idea? I read the theories. I get into interviews. I get into field reports. I get into observation. I get into literature. After that, I got an idea connected with this problem to do the research, and there is a knowledge gap. There is a knowledge gap, and I want to fill up this gap. I want to fill up this gap. This is exactly with which we have to. So you need to first of all explore a topic or area. You need to ideate it. From the ideation, you need to go for action. So the movement from exploration to action, it is in the form of research gap and research frame precipitation. I hope you have understood this aspect appropriately. So if a problem that are not well precipitated, that is means that the findings are changing from places to places, location to location. Take an example, impact of entrepreneurial orientation on entrepreneurial intention. Orientation and intention. Is there a relationship in the students in Bahrain Polytechnic University? How many students having entrepreneurial orientation? They want to become an entrepreneur. They don't want to go to government jobs or anything. They want to start their own business. How their intentions, how their orientations are connected with the intention to become an entrepreneur. So Bahrain Polytechnic related is your location you want to make a study, where there is a knowledge gap. So in order to check that, you are getting the literature from Australia, literature from America, literature from Europe, and different Central Asia, Asia, Southeast Asia, everywhere you are trying to gather information. And you identify one thing, that in our Gulf region, the kind of entrepreneurship orientation is less among students. You got an idea. So if that's the case, is it the same in Bahrain Polytechnic University? That's the question. So you identify a gap and you decided to move on. But if you don't get the gaps, research gap or a knowledge gap, anybody can question you. Anybody can criticize you. Got it? If you want to tight-lip others, first you have to do the exploration work, ideation work later, and then exactly moving towards action. For that, you need to read, understand, analyze, synthesis, and interpret the literature. So that's what we are doing. I'm not taking literature review today. I'll be taking next session only. That is on next Tuesday. So today I would like to tell you about the gaps. If you don't tell the gaps to your supervisor, the supervisor won't allow you to do the research. What knowledge gap you are trying to fill in? Where is the knowledge gap? You know one thing, all the gaps, if the time a topic is floating in the market, immediate level, hundreds and millions of researchers will take up and they do the research. Take an example, COVID-19. When I was in Morocco, that particular time, COVID-19 started. I reached 2019 end and 2020 was the. So that particular year, COVID floated in the market. The sense that as a health genocide, and no literature available about this disease or a kind of illnesses, no literature. We are seeing that hundreds and thousands of people are dying every day. Where is the literature? What are the causes connected with the COVID? What kind of research I can undertake? And what kind of concepts or sub-concepts where I search for the literature? Can you go for interviews? Complete chaos. Complete chaos. So if you don't have the literature, it means that you cannot do the research? No, there exactly explorative research is coming up. Fully qualitative research. If nothing is available before you, the single option before you is qualitative research. If everything is available before you, then quantitative research. So we need to look at books, scholarly articles, sources relevant to particular issue, area of research, theory available, any kind of descriptions can be provided, summaries or critical evaluation. All right. So literature review basically give you a complete and current state of knowledge. Where exactly the gap? What is existing now? If you don't understand what is existing now, then how you can decide where you want to take up, what knowledge I have to fill it up. So the logic is literature review is must. You need to understand, you need to read and get the gaps. So if you don't understand the current state of knowledge, then you cannot tell where the future state of knowledge needed. So if you don't read the literature, the issue is that sometimes when you start reading literature, you start reading so many literature. You have an idea initially, but the issue is that this idea can be, what you would say, torpedoed by reading literature. I mean that when you start reading, you have an idea with which you start reading literature. So all along you were guiding the literature, which literature I should read, which literature I should not read. You were exactly guiding. You are exactly designing, but after a certain stage, literature start guiding you back. That is a dangerous proportion. Your idea will be losing. You compromise with what is available in the literature. It should not be done. So don't look at the things the way they told. What the past research scholars told and what you are agreeing is same. What is the need of a research? A research. Don't see the things the way they see. They told, they see. Don't understand the things the way they interpret. It should be different. Don't follow the way the literature led. Never. This is exactly where the researchers' contributions are coming up. If you accept others, if you and others are same, what is the difference between you and others? You are telling I'm much different than you. How? That's the question. Means that there is an inconsistency between you and me. Nobody can make a conclusive decision, you and me same. There is conflict between you and me. There are contradictions between me and you. Your language, my language, different. If you cannot identify the difference, you cannot identify the gaps. You got it? So idea is not simply the way to do the research. So if you don't lead the literature, take an example, you are studying entrepreneurship and you are getting some literature connected to entrepreneurship. Your study is entrepreneurship orientation and its relationship with the entrepreneurial intention. But you are studying, but sometimes you are getting entrepreneurial orientation and productivity. No, that literature is not connected with your topic. You should not lead. You should not take up. You should take out that topic. So the most important aspect is you need to know which literature should support you, which literature should not support you. If you don't do it, you will succumb into the topic designed by the literature rather than your ideas. So in research, you need to answer how you get the knowledge, how you get the knowledge gap, from where you get the knowledge and knowledge gap. Why did you select this knowledge and identify it as a knowledge gap? When you get the knowledge, is it the right time to consider this as a gap? A gap which is precipitated 10 years back. You're taking the same gap now. It's not right. In 2023, what are the gaps existing? That is more important in comparison with the gaps existing in the past coming from the literature. That's what I told you. Never follow literature. Of course, you read it. You understand it, you synthesize it, critically observe it. Don't accept anybody. If you accept and agree with the literature, no difference between you and the author. At the same time, there is no way you will be getting a gap. And what factors link to the knowledge? Then 10 years back, what kind of knowledge or what kind of factors they have studied may be totally different now in 2023. So you need to identify, you need to answer these questions. So a weak literature of the past will guide you to a weak literature. Means that you are telling that the literature of the past, the authors of the past cannot explain the relationship between the causes and the effects appropriately. Hence, because in order to fill the weaknesses, to make it a strength, I want to do this research. You need to show it as a research gap, and it should be leading to the problem statement. A problem statement is not a problem. Stating the research gap and telling that this gap to be observed through this cause-effect relationship, and it will be leading to a particular kind of implication. Why you want to do this research? It is exactly coming through the problem statement. A problem is not a problem statement. One line is sufficient to define a problem. But stating that problem to be studied, what is the purpose of this problem to be studied? What are the objectives of this problem to be studied? What kind of gaps you are going to fill up this problem when you have to make a study? Likewise, you are explaining to the jury this problem to be studied, this problem to be studied. This is clearly connected with our region, MENA region or Gulf region, and likewise, or in Bahrain. You need to clearly customize or indigenize that topic to your area. Then only it will be turned as a proper gap to be filled up. So writing the research gaps, how it is possible. I will interpret two examples, one from quantitative research and one from qualitative research. Before that, let us understand a writing research gap. How you can write it. Take an example. The way Noor mentioned to me that a proposal is needed. What are the things to be there? A topic. Under the topic, there should be an introduction. Under the introduction, there should be the literature, and the literature should lead to a research gap. A research gap. So how we can write it this way? So in research, the literature review process is a key tool to manage the diversity of knowledge. Conceptual, hypothetical, model-wise, all the different types of knowledge exist. You have to pull it in your thesis at the time of your doing research. So research gap in research, it gives when you read the literature review only appropriately, what knowledge gap the past research scholars cannot explain to you. They explain so many things in the article, but still some areas they couldn't explain things properly. That is the weaknesses of the past literature. The weaknesses of the past literature is an opportunity for you to do the research. Others' weaknesses are your strength. So searching the weaknesses is exactly the literature review. It is not just getting a model, getting a theory. No, it's different. Don't understand that it is just cut and paste coming from different articles and likewise, oh, I got a literature review chapter number 2. It's not like that. It's basically you are trying to you first of all read, understand, integrate, synthesis, and critically you are telling that this knowledge is different in this context. Hence, there is a gap. I want to make a study. So the clear and explicit identification of the research gap is a necessary step in developing a research agenda. Research gap is must. If you don't have a research gap in your research, you cannot do the research. So identifying research gap from the literature is common practice, but criteria used seem to be ambiguous and vague. It depends on topic to topic. The way you identify the gaps in the Manama region is totally different from the gaps which are identified in Africa, or the gaps which identify on the same topic in Australia or in New Zealand or in Japan or in Southeast Asian countries. These gaps are totally different. Everything to be contextual. If somebody does a study in abroad, it doesn't mean that you cannot adopt that study in your region. But the most important thing is when you adopt or adapt a topic in your region, most important thing, how that fit into your context, how the concepts fit into your that means your context, how the IVDV studied by other countries are fit into your context. Get the inconsistencies of findings. Differences in findings in different countries. Hence, you are assuming that, believing that here also that to be precipitated. Then only I can tell my supervisor I want to do the study. So research gap analysis is ambiguous and equivocal for novice young researchers, as they find it challenging to explore the research gap because lack of criteria or predetermined procedures. Everybody, the way you are identifying the research gaps is most important thing. Everybody follow literature review. Of course, this is one only. It's only one type of identifying a research gap process. But you can go for expert interviews, direct interviews. You can go for field reflexive journalism. You can get it through any ways. And you're telling the findings of the past contradict with the understanding of mind today. They're exactly your success. So research gap and problem statement to be well connected. The difference also you need to know. A research gap rises when the ability of the systematic reviewer to draw conclusion is limited. Means that when you read so many literature, you are unable to arrive at appropriate knowledge, a conclusive findings. You fail to do so. You got it. That particular time knowledge gap is existing. Nevertheless, a research gap also holds a function as a starting point of research. Without research gaps, you cannot move except it is connected to a particular type of method called as grounded theory that is coming in qualitative research. In qualitative research, you may be getting these kind of conclusions easier because you are not able to get proper concepts proper instruments, proper literature, all these things. So that particular time you can move on. But in quantitative research and likewise, it's must. Quantitative research gaps are must. The term a research problem might occasionally be used as a synonym of research gaps, but it's not like that. It is a two different concept. However, it focuses on the function as an input for research. Since a research problem is a problem statement that is resolved by means of research, means that a problem is existing. A problem is existing, and you can explore, you can find out the truth only by making an empirical investigation. If you don't do the research, the findings won't be coming up. That you are exactly negotiating. So the problem statement represents a gap in state of formation that, when examined carefully, results in a call for action resolution. So the gap, once you fill it up, of course, these kind of findings are happening and it will be leading to some consequences. So this is exactly coming into the difference between the problem statement and research gap. So the need of research gap, why it is needed. A well-defined and a structured research problem is the heart of the project. Idea is there. Topic is selected. Then my next question, where is the gap connected with this topic? So a vague research problem is the weakest point in your research. You need to, first of all, identify a good problem, a strong problem. And you are telling many research connected with this particular problem, still a lot of inconclusive findings are there. A lot of variations, a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of contradictions, a lot of conflicts existing between the observations made by different research scholars. Higher the number of weaknesses you can show, the vagueness you can show, higher the level of opportunity you are getting to do the research. So when you're submitting your research proposal for a proposal presentation or a grant application, the evaluators might ask, what are you trying to investigate? What are you trying to investigate? You should be in a position of convincing your research problem. You are telling that this research problems precipitated in different countries, but such kind of studies have not been conducted in Manama region. And very relevant. It is very relevant. It should be done. And it should be communicating to different authors, different what you would say, the stakeholders. Then you built your research problem properly or not. So the gap, what is the gap basically? It is what makes your thesis acceptable, your idea acceptable, your topic acceptable only when you identify the gaps. It is the missing element, what exactly others cannot tell. Take an example, their methodology weak, hence because finding fault, their population weak, they're finding fault, their designs weak. Problem. So different region contradictory. For somebody told there is strong relationship between entrepreneurial orientation and intention in Australia. But when you read the similar type of study in Muscat or in Oman and likewise, you said there is no relationship between students' orientation and intention. Some others in America, no relationship. So negative relationship. Likewise, a lot of inconsistencies are coming up. All right. So the missing element is you cannot arrive at appropriate conclusion. So it is the gap you fill with your research gaps. So research gap is actually what makes your research doable. What makes the jury to approve your idea or a topic is the research gap, whether it is doable or not, because it shows you are not just duplicating the existing work. It shows that you have a deep understanding. It shows that you have conducted a research literature review, which fulfills the gap in the literature. So if you don't show me appropriately this kind of knowledge gap, I may not approve your topic. I may not approve your topic. So research gap is very important to get your thesis manuscript acceptable or publishable. So we call it as missing element, searching the missing element. What is this missing element? The weaknesses with which the past authors cannot explain the findings appropriately, cannot explain the sample appropriately, cannot integrate different types of research design to arrive at different types of observations. Location selected wrong, or the customers, or take an example, the respondent selected is wrong. Likewise, the theory chosen is not appropriate new theories to be used. So everywhere you are trying to identify weaknesses. So a research gap is the missing element in the existing literature, the weaknesses of the existing literature that you have to fill with your research approach. You are telling that everybody used ethnography in the study, the method of ethnography. But ethnography is exactly not useful to do in this particular region. We have to go for case studies, narratives, and phenomenology. So my approach with the support of triangulated methods and likewise, that is more approachable and more, what do you say, fruitful in comparison with the way that other people have done the research. So you identify the gaps. So in other words, it indicates a finding from a research in which a key question has not been answered. Many times you have to go to the, what you would say, the limitations of, when you read an article, go to the limitations of the study, in which the authors might have explained to you, though 10 variables are available, 10 causative factors are available to make a study, its connection to entrepreneurial intention, I have studied only 6 aspects. So these 4 variable couldn't study. You can take up that 4 variables and you can connect with the same dependent variable and develop a research frame. So where others have left out, you can take it up. You can take it up. That exactly the missing aspects. So the gap is the missing piece or pieces in the research literature. It is the area that has not yet been explored or underexplored. OK, so it is not unexplored, it is explored and it is underexplored. This could be a population. It can be a size. It can be the weaknesses connected with the population, the size, the type, the location, or research method, data collection process, or so this is exactly, we call it as the weaknesses. When you read an article, you would be able to identify the population selected is adequate or not. Is it right or not? When I was doing a study, leave it. Another study which has conducted in the Niger Delta region connected with sustainability and strategic thinking or strategic planning or something. The issue is that the student is supposed to do research on the managers rather than the community. So he did the research on the management. Management cannot tell anything about how the strategic planning had its impact on the community. Never. Only the community people can tell about it. So he ignored the community. So the entire thesis gone out of findings, appropriate findings. Once again, the student has to do with the community observations on the strategic plan or the strategic steps taken by the company to alleviate the sustainability challenges and likewise. All right. So what I would like to tell you is that the location you are choosing, if it is wrong, your topic wrong. So you have to look at past research scholars. You have to look at their observation and try to identify whether the sample size is correct or not. Take an example, size. Take a different size of, OK, majority studies have conducted on large scale industries. Large scale industries, so many literature is coming up, but medium, small and micro enterprises, less number of studies are reported in the Manama region. So there is a gap in it. Knowledge gap connected with SMEs, there is a gap. Another is type. Take an example, personality studies. Type A personality, type B personality, type C personality. So majority studies are connected with type A and type B. No studies have been conducted in type C or type Z. So there is a gap of knowledge connected with type C and there is a meaning in it. Location. Majority studies are coming from US and America and less studies have been oriented in the Gulf and Manama region and likewise, right? Another location gap. Methods used. Majority studies have used in quantitative studies. They have not made in-depth understanding on the hidden variables connected with the location. Nobody studied. So a method chosen is wrong. So you can go for a kind of mixed method design. Data collection done with the support of questionnaires. No interviews and observation has been conducted. So there is a gap connected with data collection process. Analysis done with the support of statistics. No analysis done with the support of coding, categorizing, and theme building. Nothing has been done. So you are trying to identify the past research scholars' weaknesses. That is called gap. So a research gap is identification of opportunities. Others' weaknesses are your opportunity to take up that topic. Take, for example, a research has been carried out about lean transformation. The gap here entails what has not been critically analyzed. And if I take up this particular topic, then what are the research opportunities, future opportunities to the organization, to the stakeholders? So the phrase research gap can be linked to a systematic review or a critical review or mapping review in order to find the gap opportunity. That's what next session is going to happen. That is connected with literature review and literature metrics development. All right. So research gap is the difference. It is the difference between what is existed. So when you read the literature, journals, articles, what is existed is exactly the state of the art knowledge that you should have. But the question is, when you read that, what are the gaps existing in the current knowledge? If you don't read the literature, you cannot identify the gaps. So first you complete the literature review. And after that, you identify these are the knowledge gaps existing when you compare with the Manama region or the Gulf region. And this is the required knowledge. This is existing knowledge, and this is the required knowledge. So what theories, assumptions, and the practices are existing now, but what should be done? So generally, a research gap can extension or challenge of the existing variable, theories, or assumptions. So this is gap basically. For simple understanding, for all the research scholars and the faculty sitting over here, what is existing to what is required. And here you are trying to fill up. That is called as, so you need to move to this way. You cannot move. This is a full gap. So you have to go to this way. All right. So in order to do that, our research to be conducted and that to be answered appropriately. So basically, a research gap is mixed previous empirical results. Take an example. Okay. What do you say? Retail ambience. Retail ambience impact on sales performance. That means a shop has absolute ambience, so super ambience. So higher the ambience or better the ambience, better the sales performance. You go to restaurant chains and likewise, some good restaurants you used to go because you like the ambience over there. But some studies indicate there is no relationship between ambience, retail ambience, or the restaurant ambience connected to the, what you would say, sales performance. Some will be telling it's not the matter of ambience. Lower the ambience, also people are coming and sales performance happening. Negative relationship between ambience and sales performance. But some other telling no relationship between ambience and what you would say sales performance. So you get a different results. So as a research scholar, when you do the literature review, your first task is to get that argumentative literature. Argumentative means that somebody told yes, relationship between IV and DV. Somebody told no, the relationship between IV and DV. Somebody told negative relationship between. So I'm confused. I'm so confused. What is happening in Manama region? I'm not sure about it. And there is a knowledge gap existing. Hence, I have to do the research. So you're negotiating with the jury. Got it? Conflicts in theoretical approach. Many research scholars have used popular theories. Popular theories doesn't have any impact at all. New theories have been floated explaining the same problem in a different way. Why these people are still following the popular theories? I would like to follow a different theory which can be more adaptable into the Manama region. All right, so that theory I'm working out. So such knowledge is not existing. This theory-based knowledge is not existing. There is a gap, knowledge gap. So hence I want to do this research. Empirical methods. The methods used by many researchers in the past based on quantitative research. Everybody follow quantitative research. Nobody has done, means that everybody follow a kind of mono method. It is not based on a multi-method, or it is not based on a mixed method research. So when two methodologies are integrating together, synthesized together, what kind of research outcomes are coming up? Is it one and same, or it is different? No ideas existing so far. Hence, because I want to do this research, variations in the methods, variations in the theories, variations in the empirical results. These are all you are getting from literature review. So you have to make an arbitrage. Either I should follow qualitative research, or I should make a quantitative research, or I should make a mixed method research. This is exactly your idea. So the complex phenomenon, if you want to dissect and make a study, of course, a business problem connected to marketing, HR, finance, IT, supply chain, or operations, and different dimensions, different disciplines can be integrated into the business problem. But you cannot study everything together. So you have to make HR problem, dissect it, study. Finance problem, same problem, but financial angle, or marketing angle, or HR angle, or technology angle. You're making study. So there exactly you need to find out the research gaps, right? So I don't want to go very deep into it, but I'm just going to give you certain typologies. This is taking too much of time. I would like to tell you about this one, the 5 types of research gaps exactly. The 5 types, which is connected with the population, variations in the population, variations in the intervention, either through quantitative research or through qualitative research or through mixed method research. You can identify the knowledge gaps. And you are telling that only mono interventions have been done. When you integrate the 2 methods, we are sure about it, the knowledge connected with understanding and interpretation will be coming into the picture rather than only predictions. So we can integrate predictions with deep understanding and interpretation. So new interventions needed, comparison of different dimensions, populations, gender, ethnicities, language, races, comparison can be made. Outcomes of the past and outcomes of different countries connected with the same phenomenon. Setting, you can study in organizations, in schools, in colleges, in business organizations, or different type of industries. You can make a comparative analysis. So everywhere the research gap is existing. If that's the case, what are the other types of research types? When you have to identify the research gaps, you need to get contradictory evidence. The evidence coming from one location should contradict with the evidence coming from other location. Then only you can tell what is happening in Manama region. I'm not sure about it. There is a knowledge gap existing. West is telling this way. East is telling this way. North is telling this way. What is happening in our country? There is a knowledge gap. Contradictory evidences, you have to get it from literature. Knowledge void gap. Some knowledge tend to be redundant, completely outdated. You know that many times when you do the literature review, sometimes you are not getting any literature after 2012 or 13. It's already redundant, already outdated. That findings already completed, and there is no gap existing. So if there is knowledge void gap is existing, you won't get any literature further. So if you take a topic, when you read a literature from 2010 or 2005 and you want to do a research now, literature may not be existing because that knowledge is already filled up. Why are you doing that? Why are you taking up that? Not true. Action knowledge conflicts means that some type of knowledge which required the actions rather than just as a thesis. So in order to move that's called as action research. We call it as there is a type of typology, specifically in management institutions and likewise technology, engineering, action research. You do the research and tell to the management that these are the problems existing. Once the researcher's role is over, with researcher and the other team members, they try to implement, they make it as action. It never made it as a thesis. It never ended up it as a thesis. Instead of that, it is moving towards action. Such kind of gaps, implementation gaps are existing. You can do that. Methodological, I told you, quali-quanti. Evaluation void gap. That means the way the way that concepts and the concepts of IV, DV, all these things evaluated, the concepts with the location evaluated, the people, the size, the typologies are evaluated. It's different in different realms. So there is a gap you can identify. And finally, theory application void gap. This indicates what? The theories, conflicting theories to be used rather than popular theories. Popular theories will help you to complete your research, but conflicting theories will help you to tell that certain type of theories are not suitable to make its relevance today. And certain theories tend to be redundant that should not be taken up for any kind of research. So that's the way you can do the research. So these are the different types of gaps which are existing. And if you last 1-2 paragraphs, I'm just reading along. This is one topic. This is to show you that a quantitative and qualitative research gaps, how it is existing, just to have a reading paragraph for your understanding. All along, I'm telling you the theory. Now it's coming into the action part. Take an example. You have to come up with a research frame like this. Impact. These are all IV. This is IV and this is DV and this is a this is a mediating variable. So how the service quality affecting destination image, how the service quality affecting what you would say intention to revisit. 2, how the perceived value affecting the destination image, how the perceived value affecting the intention to revisit. So around this kind of research frames we have to arrive at. After the research gap, a research conceptual frame or theoretical frame to be formed. And this is exactly the way with which we need to integrate a research frame. So this frame is the final part of a research gap. So how they have formed this research gap, let us see. The statistical data indicated that there is an overall increase in the growth of number of AV tourists. AV tourists means bird watching, people going for bird watching in Malaysia. However, with specific reference to AV tourism locations, how far such continuous tourism growth reflect in AV tourist consideration as a preferred birding destination in the international market is less researched into. So why Malaysia turned to be, or Malaysian AV tourist locations are turned to be a preferred birding destination? Nobody has any idea because the responses or the knowledge not available. So AV tourism is a niche tourism. And the AV tourism intention to consider Malaysian AV tourist sites as their destination of choice is not well researched in terms of AV tourist inflow. With due consideration to the inflow, research has not been conducted with incorporation of samples from both peninsular and east. Studies, 1 or 2 studies have coming from peninsular, but integrating the east and peninsular location gap, it's not identified. Moreover, more AV tourist attitudinal research needs to be conducted in order to explain the factors correlated to visitor satisfaction. Studies connected with this visitor satisfaction also not done appropriately, means that conceptual gap as destination of the choice. So some researches were conducted with the support of qualitative research tools and methods on methodological gap. Quantifying the AV tourist perspective on service quality and perceived is very much important. So Malaysia could address. So mixed method research is coming, methodological gap. Though several studies conducted by the past researchers on the service quality, perceived value dimensions on intention to revisit in general tourism location, such as studies are seldom conducted in AV tourist location. Another time, location gap is coming with the variables. More AV tourist attitudinal research on service quality, perceived value aspects need to be continued to link tourism overflow with the preferred birding destination as well as intention to revisit. So seldom any study was conducted to analyze the mediation. Nobody has done any mediation effect. Okay, so you are inserting what you would say visitor satisfaction, perceived value, all these aspects, and this is another gap is coming. So seldom any study was conducted to analyze the mediation effect of visit between service quality, perceived value. So you are telling different methodological gap, procedural gap, the location gap, the conceptual gap, and likewise, this is the way you have to precipitate quantitative research. And one example, this is the last slide, research gap in qualitative research. Crisis management, a qualitative study of extreme event leadership. This is a qualitative study of, this is a qualitative research gap. So several extreme events are examined in this dissertation to better understand the implications of such events for expanding the existing knowledge of crisis leadership. They're studying crisis leadership through interviews with the leaders that had direct relationship roles in extreme events such as Fukushima nuclear reactor explosions, Deepwater Horizon oil ground explosion, the superstorm Sandy, in addition to national leadership, White House Situation Room, and in-depth cross-case analysis of leadership in extreme cases is presented. So case study is coming case study, and they're trying to look at crisis leadership variations that has not been studied. Previous literature conclude that abilities of leaders are second only to the cause of the event itself in determining the outcome of the disaster. But due to the rarity of these events, there has been limited scholarly consideration, means that there is a gap of the implications, future consequences, practical implications of what you would say crisis, how the crisis leadership is exactly managing change. That means any kind of transformation, and likewise has not been studied. So the gap. Many different research threads exist in the extreme literature. There are few links among the theories, theoretical gap, literature gaps, and systematic approaches also. There are three important areas of research gap threads identified existing. One, tendency for researchers to oversimplify insight from more routine cases. When they read the literature, I tell you, literature started guiding you rather than you guide the literature, you synthesize the literature, you understand in a different way. All right, that is another danger. Second is multiplicity of researchers who study the domain. A lot of researchers studied, but they couldn't arrive at a proper conclusion on the crisis leadership impact. Researchers tend to miss the changing nature of crisis over time. Different crises, even though crisis leadership is a kind of leadership, but its property, psychometric properties are changing from event to event. That has not been studied. The next few paragraphs will describe these threats in detail. So this is coming into a form of, take an example, many researchers simplify the research by studying more routine events. These are the three, I just concluded all the three into these paragraphs. All right, and that is exactly going towards the, take an example, come with the changing nature of crisis over time, all the things which I have, the lack of research on setback management, policy mapping, capacity mapping, incident command connected with the crisis leadership has not been studied. So this is, I'm not going towards these kind of examples and likewise. So I have just exactly finished.